Saddle up your horses.
Pitter patter, let's get at her. It is another episode of the Manely Broncos Podcast, and the Broncos are streaking again. They beat the Cleveland Browns in what appears to be the last time that one of the last few times that they've won by double digits. Right, they win by double digits, and man, it is. It just feels so good that the Broncos can not only just beat the Browns, but they beat them convincingly. Maybe the best team in the National Football League, and the Broncos nearly put 30 points up on the board, 27 offensive points, and of course they added a defensive safety in the game. We have you covered as can be in terms of this post game or recap, if you will, for that Denver Broncos game against the Cleveland Browns. But obviously, we're going to be talking about much more than that. The Pro Bowl voting has opened, and so we're going to talk about the Pro Bowl voting. What Broncos are deserving of the Pro Bowl, and so we'll talk about that. Of course, there is another big matchup upcoming down there in the state of Texas against the Houston Texans, where Matty is doing the horns down. That is when you are a true Oklahoma Sooner fan. For Matty, we go down to the state of Texas, and in a game that was many people called a shoe-in in terms of a win. It's not so much of a shoe-in win anymore when it comes to that Houston Texans team. For a couple reasons, they got the quarterback down there, and of course, maybe they actually did hit a home run with rookie head coach D'Amico Ryans down there in Houston, alumni, I should say, Houston with D'Amico Ryans. So it's gonna be an exciting show, guys. Before we dive into it, how are you guys doing? And by the way, Matty, since you were the one responsible for the belly rub, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to be responsible for the truffle shuffle.
I was going to say, you have to do it has to be a truffle shuffle now.
I can't. I didn't do it justice. I didn't do it justice, but I got to give the people what they want. So, Josh, all love for you. Let's go. You do crazy things when you win 5 straight. You do crazy things when you were Bane a month and a half ago. I was born in the dark, raised by it, molded by it. And now, because we went through all of that, giving up 70, losing by 50. Sorry. Now we are, no electricity? Well, we got electricity in the building now. There's plenty of brightness in Broncos country now. Games that we would have lost last year, we're finding ways to win.
Oh, hold on, there's brightness. Hold on, I gotta fix this. I'll be back.
It's just it's pretty dope to see how different of a team they have been over the last 5 games. And look, I can be negative at times. I'm negative most times, and I have a lot of things. I got some stuff I got to get into. Right, we were not perfect, but damn, it feels good to be over 500.
Future too bright. I had the wrong glasses. I can't see shit. You know what? I'm going to go with it as long as I can.
You look like you're primed up for an awesome episode.
Hell yeah, let's do this shit. I literally am blind.
Could we just like take a minute though and go back to Matty's impersonation of Bane and how it was more about how it was Scottish. More like a Scottish or British. He was a British version of Bane.
This is the accent just slipped in there.
I was born by it, molded by it.
Okay, so Bane / Hamlet, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know. Banelet, I don't know.
Oh my god,
that was great. But you guys doing well though? Brandon,
what happened?
I know you got your shades on. You're cool. But how you doing, my man? You doing good?
I just hope I'm speaking into the microphone. Let's fucking go, boys.
Yeah, 5 in a row.
Just motion to never have a loss episode again.
Yeah, I'm not superstitious, ladies and gentlemen, but I am stitious. I'm a little stitious.
So we have to recreate everything that we've done every episode.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
I mean,
Which means
like
if we
Patty
win
Mahomes,
Texans, I have to wear these sunglasses again.
like Patty Mahomes, I'm wearing the same underwear. So like, I'm
Oh.
doing my job.
God.
I didn't exactly need to know that kind of detail, Mr. Giambi, but
Hey,
Did you wash them?
they may be so holy, it's a religious experience, but yeah, I'm wearing the same.
I'm trying to figure out how I can read the comments.
you click on them.
No, I just can't see them. Here we go. No, I can't. Yo, this was going into this game. Not gonna lie. First of all, I thought this was this was the test. I went into this game like, you know what, this was the test. I know we beat the Chiefs, but we also kind of had their number in the first game. I know we beat the Bills, but the Bills also kind of beat themselves every game, and I'm not taking that away from us, but that's just who that team is. And we went into this Brown games, and I was like, you know what, this is going to be, and Vikings too, Josh Dobbs' insanity run that crashed and burned last week, but 2 days ago, 3 days ago, but this game against the Browns, 7-3 team with the best defense in the league. Like, I feel fairly confident saying that they're the best defense in the league. I was like, you know what, this is going to be difficult. This is going to be hard. We are turning the ball over at a historically unprecedented pace that can't continue. We can't keep getting away with it, and we just shellacked them.
Yeah.
That was not even close to the score that I predicted. And Russ looked good. That was a great Russell Wilson game. Like, I'm not going to say the term, but I will give it to Russ because I've been slightly critical of him. I think he's been better this year, but even if you look at the stats, whatever, I mean, low yardage passing, who cares?
Yeah.
First of all, across the league, like, scoring in general is down, like, league wide, and not everyone is passing for 300 yards a game. You still have the quarterbacks are doing it, yes, but just the plays that he made, the reads that he made, the throw to the end zone. Oh my God, we'll talk about it, but damn.
Yeah, let's dive into one of the biggest things, of course, and you touched on it originally. We'll talk about Sir Russell Wilson, which, by the way, before we dive into any of the conversation, happy birthday to Mr. Unlimited. It is Russell Wilson's birthday.
What was that?
Limited.
That's it.
It is his birthday today. He turns 35, and he obviously did mention before he joined the Broncos that he wants to play till he's 40. So we'll talk about Russ here in a little bit. But the defense, man, the defense for the Broncos. I talked a little bit about it on the 5280 podcast, and anybody that had the chance to listen to that podcast, you guys are going to hear that type of commentary a little bit of, again, but it's almost as if you were to blend a Barry Alvarez Wisconsin football team and a Kirk Ferentz Iowa Hawkeyes team and blend them together. And the reason why I say that is because the way the Broncos are operating on the offensive side of the ball is absolutely what has been so familiar to Russell Wilson in his career with Seattle. And, down when he was with Wisconsin, just a very heavy dose of that running game and making the plays when it mattered and making the plays when they needed to win those games. And that's exactly what we're seeing. And on the defensive side of the ball, you're talking about a team that is turning the ball over at a very alarming rate.
Taking the ball away.
Yeah, turning the ball over, right. And creating turnovers, I should say. Creating turnovers.
Yeah, we ain't turning it over.
No. Well, actually, we are. We are, but that's when Russell Wilson decides to hold it like a little bit of a loaf of bread. But I digress. But in terms of the defense, they are creating turnovers like it's nobody's business right now. I mean, you're talking about a team that is at one point, like through 4 games, it was like they were averaging 4 turnovers a game, basically.
It was 12 in 4 games, or 12 in 3 games. So yeah, 4 games.
4. And then now it's about 3 now on average, but that's still ridiculous because you're talking about in nearly every single game during this winning streak, they're averaging multi turnovers in a game. And that is a huge credit to the secondary, the defense really stepping up. And really, if you're going to nitpick this team, and I'm curious what your thoughts on this, if you're really going to nitpick, and it's a big nitpick, if you will, the rush defense is a problem. The rush defense is a problem. And Matty, I will actually lead this off to you because you did talk about how the running game for Cleveland was going to be a big problem. It turned out to be a big problem. Now, I feel like maybe some of that was schematic. The schematic runs that they were certainly running from the Browns' point of view. But that said, the Broncos still were able to get off the field in really key situations.
42 pass attempts, 24 rush attempts. Feels like that should have been reversed for their strategy. They came out actually throwing the football quite a bit early on. They had some success. They did have some success, which prevented us from trying to load the box and get after him. But they had a Ford. They had keys to a Ford that wasn't broken down, and they decided not to drive it.
Yeah, Jerome Ford averaged like 7 yards a carry. It was ridiculous.
7.2 yards per carry, 9 carries for 65 yards. Why didn't he get 20 touches? Why? Like,
Was
if
he
I'm
injured?
Cleveland's, he was fine. He was good.
That's just weird.
They did some quarterback run stuff. Kareem Hunt, we kind of bottled him up a little bit. 7 carries for 22 yards. I'll take that. You know, I'll give up that 3.1 average. That's fine. But I mean, again, another running back getting over 7 yards a pop, an explosive running back at that. And he was gashing us. It's not like we were bottling him, and he hits us for 30, right? Like, it was just first down to 2nd and 2, first down to 2nd and 3. You know, it pretty routinely. They got cute. So we were in a point in the game where they were getting ready to go down the field and take the lead. And they call this like running back pitch back to the wide receiver trying to do a reverse thing when they were getting cute, just running it down in the teeth of our defense. And they fumbled the football and we got it back. And that was a turning point in the game because we went right back down the field. And if I remember right, that's when Trotman caught his touchdown and we ended up going up by 2 scores and then the game looks a little different, right? If they go down and score a touchdown there instead of getting cute and pitching the ball and all that, they take the lead and we may not get it back. We may not get the lead back. Who knows what the disposition of that game looks like. It plays like that. While it looks great, we won by 17. I take it back to that play where they fumbled right there. And they were in prime position to go take the lead. They got cute. Teams get cute. Like why you just mentioned scoring's down in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
When something's working,
make
the other team stop it. Don't get cute. Just, I mean, hit them in the mouth. If you're getting 7 yards a pop with somebody, bet I'm riding that. I'm riding that forward until the wheels fall off.
I don't know, like that might not take that long. I'm just kidding. Right. I obviously I'm, they're NFL offensive coaches. Like,
yeah,
they know more than I'll ever know. They've forgotten more than they should. But it just seems to me like they're calling plays out there and they get into the red zone. They're like, oh, I've called this play 4 times. It's worked every time. But what if they figure out a way to stop it now? I have to do something different. Yeah. And it's kind of funny. Like, to me, it almost feels like, and this is sort of unrelated, the people that out there that are like, oh, well, I've done the same workout 3 times in a row. I have to confuse my muscles. I have to do something different. I have to do something completely different. I have to put this bench on my body and do pull-ups and like raise my legs and all those that crazy shit you see people do.
Right.
I just remember, like, I hear people talk about how you got to confuse your muscles. You got to do something different. I just feels like that's what the offensive coordinator is doing. They're like, well, this play's worked every time I've called it, but I just called it 3 times. I can't do it again. I have to change it up.
And the thing
that's
is,
what
like,
it feels like.
Well, and it's not just like, your own favorite football team. Like, the Broncos did it, right? The Broncos did it with Samaje Perine and Marvin Mims, and it resulted in a fumble. And it happened almost like identically on, if you will, on same play or whatever, like with the Browns. And it was just like, you get in your own head sometimes. And it's not just in the NFL where you see it. You see it more often than not in college as well. I mean, there are a lot of boneheaded plays that happen where coaches just get too hard-headed at times, or they feel like, if you're running the same play over and over again, surely they're going to expect it. Then you outthink yourself, and then you do, something else. And then when you do something else, they actually expect it, or you end up turning the ball over. And so you get in your head, a little bit too often, yeah.
It's the Princess Bride thing, right? Like they're trying to figure out which one's poisoned.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which cup's poisoned. It's like, wait, but you knew I would do that. So now I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Oh, but you knew that I would second guess. Like, and then they both end up poisoned. Like, it does not matter. Like, just go with what works. Go with what you know. It's one of those things. I think guys.
Who was Brandon Staley 4,000? Oh my God.
That's pretty solid.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Talking about guys that,
yeah.
Facts, Josh. Good point.
Yeah.
This is a Friends episode. They don't know. We know they know we know.
Right. Right. Anyway, though, the defense, they created a lot of turnovers, and I think the idea of this team, and obviously there's a lot to unpack here, and I know Josh was commenting also here, and saying not bad for a bunch of dirty headhunters, if you will, and if anybody
dirty Denver.
If anybody has been missing this, it's the dirty Denver has really come out of this because of the Cleveland Browns game. But I think that the thing that really has to be said here is it is a physical brand of football. I mean, so the Broncos, they are hitting legally. They're hitting legally. But
not if you ask the refs.
Yeah, not if you ask the refs, or not if you.
Those are two of the worst calls I've ever seen.
Certainly one of them, but I think that still, though, the common sense still remains that the Broncos are playing a physical brand of football, which you would think would attribute to a little bit more of a stout run defense, but to each their own in that regard. But they're also playing aggressive, and I think that so much of that is played into the fact that you're able to rush the passer a little bit more. They're blitzing at I don't know what the statistic is maybe right now, but it certainly feels like they're blitzing at a more, more of a successful rate at that. In fact,
and they're actually doing something with it, because, and this has got around several times today. Even it kind of just started when we cut Frank Clark and Gregory.
Yeah. And one of the key things that I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on, because
it's 37.4% of the time, fifth highest rate
right now, like as in the current
from 2 days ago.
And that's the blitz rate. What do you have the numbers for success rate? Like quarterback
I'm trying to find that, but I will also say 25% of the drives against us ended in turnovers.
Yeah, that was the
That's so stupid.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to get your guys' take on this, because they added a fun little wrinkle.
I can't find that number.
They added a fun little wrinkle to their defense this Sunday against the Browns, which was they found a creative use to use Drew Sanders on the football field in packages with Josie Jewell and Alex Singleton. And I think in terms of creating pressure for the quarterback, I mean, that is something that I think you'll see a lot more of. Because, I mean, Brandon, you and I talked about it, and Matty, when you were on, but we talked about it at times, like with Sanders. I think the beautiful thing that you have with a guy like Drew Sanders and a Baron Browning is you have two of the same-ish players, but you can use them in very different ways, And so I think that how they're trying to figure out with Drew Sanders is possibly creative ways to use him. And so I think that in fact, I think there was at one point in the game where there was a NASCAR package where they had nearly hardly any, if you will, Josie Jewell's on the field or Alex Singleton's on the field, but you had nothing but pass rushers there, and they were able to get home. And, again, one more time, credit where credit is due to that OU DNA. Casa Benito, Nick Benito is absolutely balling out of his mind. And Nick, if you are listening to this to this podcast, I am one of the nicest people on Twitter. So would you please unblock me?
I can't believe he blocked you. That's so funny.
He also blocked a lot of people, though.
Yeah, but nobody can block him. So
right.
I mean, it's great. I saw it at OU, right? I saw it at OU. if you remember right, we had Jalen Hurts. We were down like a million points to Baylor. We came back against them. The guy who sealed that game was Benito making a pick on an out route towards the end of the game. So very versatile guy, can put him in a lot of space, but he had one of the PFF's best pass rush grades in the class, and nobody talked about him.
Well, coming out of college, he led all FBS edge players with in pass rush win rate. Which is kind of insane. I think the biggest reason people to talk about him is like because that was kind of his thing. Like he wasn't really a run defender. But
that was the thing too that we said in just in terms of a prospect that like one of the best things that translates to the next level as a pass rusher is the ability, like in terms of the pass rush win rate, like the ability to get home, like as a pass rush specialist, right? Or I should say, like just the quick first step.
Yeah, and it wasn't even that. It was like he actually did, like, because the other thing you see with people coming out of college is like they try to just win with strength or just win with speed. They don't really have like a plan, I think is the specific verbiage of the knock that you'll see on those guys, that they don't have a plan. They don't rush with a plan. They don't have like specific moves that they need to develop
which was a knock on Benito last year.
Kind of, but like he did that a little bit in college though. Like he wasn't the guy that was just like, oh, well, I'm faster than you, so I'm just going to beat you with speed or power every time, which he was able to do. He actually like had a bit more of the finesse and the actual plan at what he was going to do, how he was going to beat his guy. Obviously not to the point that he does now, but that was part of why he was such a good pass rusher in college.
He is just he is all over the place. He is all over the field. You constantly see him around the ball. And he's gotten really close. Him and Cooper both have gotten really close to getting some strip sacks. I thought they were coming like 3 times this week, and they just barely didn't happen. It's going to happen. Like this is hyperbole. I get it. Don't shoot me. But sometimes seeing Cooper come off one side and Benito off the other, I get a little twingling in my I kind of see 94 and 58.
Going off.
I see 94 and 58 bearing down on the quarterback, like almost getting there at the same time. Like it's
get your flashback.
We're putting tackles in hell right now, trying to protect their quarterback. We're breaking. Look, we maybe aren't the best against the run, as is well documented, but we're collapsing the pocket some, and we're putting a lot of stress on the exterior of that offensive line, and quarterbacks aren't wanting to really step up into it. So they're wanting to bail, and then that's great because now it's a lion hunting in open space, and you're done.
Well,
so it's
and to that vein,
that has one tooth because they were forcibly removed.
What I was going to say, and to that vein, it's helping out the secondary, and the secondary is balling out in its own right. Like Jaquan McMillions, he's making McMillions every single game he is on the football field. Like he is.
Pressure leads to picks.
I mean, like Brandon,
the next Strap Harris.
But like Brandon, you and I will say it until the dogs come home. Ever since the Chargers game, which was his game,
in the game last season.
Was the moment where you really got a chance to see him shine.
He was everywhere.
He should have had an interception. I mean, I still hold true to that. He should have had an interception. But I mean, he is balling out, and we need to also give kudos to another corner that was a free agent signing, and that would be Fabian Moreau. Fabian Moreau has had a little bit of an up and down career as of late, but with the Broncos, he is playing really, really well under Vance Joseph. And so one more time again, just when we thought that Christian Parker was deserving some blame with the way the secondary was playing, he also deserves as much credit as Vance Joseph and some of these other, coaches, of course, because of how well the secondary is playing. And, I mean,
yeah, and Fabian Moreau is the other case of that, where it's somehow addition by subtraction. Where we talked before, like
Bassey, right?
Get rid of, kind of, but I mean more Mathis, Damari Mathis.
Oh yeah,
who was disappointingly bad. Like I was so upset. He was kind of starting to developed a little bit at the end of the last season. I was really excited for him. I'm not saying throw the towel in, but like he was bad. He was just straight up bad. And you have that addition by subtraction again, where we talked about before, you lose Randy Gregory, you lose Frank Clark, like lose, I say you cut them, and you give the other guys a chance to step up and make more plays. Same kind of situation here where you put Moreau in instead of the, sieve of Mathis, and suddenly the secondary looks better. Like, credit to this team for having the guts to make that change too, because like you see all the time. I mean, literally, you can look at the Jets. Obviously, they go into this season thinking they were going to have to go to the backup quarterback. No, but they never had the guts to say, Zach Wilson isn't it. We got to find someone else. And then now they played Tim Boyle. And like, you look at the position they're in, having a coaching staff that's not afraid to go through and say, yep, you know what? You guys aren't doing it for us. We got to make a change. Like, we got to make a change now. And it actually benefiting the team. Like, if we don't make those changes, we're not on the streak.
And by that same, conversation, Brandon, is like when you look at it, I don't think a Nathaniel Hackett coaching staff, the way that he operated last year, would have ever even considered those changes, right? And and I think that's why leadership has been such a big thing with the coaching staff and making sure that those necessary changes, because Damari Mathis was probably going to be, as much as he played really well near the latter part of, the season last year, had Mathis regressed as bad as he has at the beginning part of this year, he probably still would have been out there. Like, he still probably would have been out there, or they at least would have declined his snaps, but it would have been, too little, too late by that point. One of the things in terms of course, the pass rush, and of course, even with the run defense, of course, is we also have to give some props to a guy who is also responsible for the streak, and that is a guy by the name of Zach Allen. Zach Allen is playing exceptional football. I mean, like, he got the safety. He is statistically outperforming Draymond Jones, a player that obviously the Broncos felt like, should they re-sign or move on from? And if they do move on from him, find
they
the
felt
replace.
comfortable moving on from him and replacing it with Zach Allen.
Exactly. Yeah. And so they replaced him with Zach Allen, and he's played really well. He's not necessarily the JJ Watts of wearing 99.
Well,
but
no one is JJ Watt.
No, but
except for TJ Watt.
But what helps is Watt, as we know, is mentoring a guy like Zach Allen, right? Watt mentors Allen. I don't know how often, but we do know that he probably talks regularly to him. I'm sure they talk shop, of course, but I think that, for Zach, you are seeing the thing that's great about this particular season versus the year that he had in Arizona is you're seeing a different trick of the trade for him, right? In last year with Arizona, he had like 8 passes defended or deflected, right? He had 8 passes deflected, which is an absurd number for a defensive lineman. And now he only has like 1 pass deflection this year. And everything else is just either in tackles for loss, in sacks, and quarterback pressures, and quarterback hits. So the run defense has definitely been suspect, but possibly one of the non-factors, if you will, or people that are not affected by this, is Zach Allen.
Yeah, I mean, and as long as we're on the defensive side of the ball and calling out guys that are slightly underlooked, before we get to the offensive side, and one of you guys steals what I want to talk about, but PJ Locke being back in this game was also a major reason that we won.
Lock it down.
Like, PJ Locke, I'm okay with not having Kareem Jackson for 3 more games as long as PJ Locke is healthy, because that dude is a stud. And safety depth was a little bit of a concern. You have obviously Caden Stearns, who I was really, really, really wanting to see have an expanded role this year. Lose him for the season early, right? That just sucks. But PJ Locke comes in and does a pretty admirable job replacing him as kind of like our main depth piece. Delarian Turner-Yell kind of hasn't really been it to this point, and PJ Locke has.
And JL Skinner is getting a redshirt year, right? I mean, it's probably fair to say that. I mean, he's getting a redshirt year.
Yeah.
He was.
I think
for one
it feels
game.
like that was the plan all along. Yeah.
Matty, you're gonna say something?
Oh, just yeah. I mean, Turner Yell it sucked because I thought he was coming on towards the end of last year.
Yeah,
like a lot of guys that were.
Another OU guy.
Well, it's weird how some of the guys that like finished well started slow this year for us. But dude, I was about to talk PJ Locke. I mean, 5 solo tackles, a sack, a pass defensed, all over the place, basically being the enforcer for the team. Graham Jackson isn't in. Like, at some point, the players have to do something to protect themselves, right? Like, it's just like we're playing football at the end of the day, right?
This
is football.
Anyway.
This is tackle
the
football.
Way we're going.
Like, if they want us to play flag because it's safer, then let's just play flag football, and let's stop trying to pretend that the game is something that it's not. If they want it to be something else, right? Like, we have to give defensive players a chance to do their job. Like,
I think they should force refs to watch the play again in slow motion, because watching this shit happen in the blink of an eye and trying to make a decision on it, it's impossible.
This is the equivalent of like telling an accountant that they cannot do their job using Excel or using software.
They can't have a calculator.
Any of that, and no calculator. So figure it out.
Like all my math teachers told me I wouldn't have.
Right. So like would you hamstring
that's a great
your
analogy.
And expect them to be as effective at their job?
Fuck yourself over and pay triple the amount of taxes. Oh wait.
Right. But the league, speaking of taxes, just loves to hand out fines like candy.
Same thing.
Like, and players are like, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to play this thing? Like Mark Jackson in the NBA is like, what happened? What happened to the game that I love? Right? Like, I mean, I understand player safety and like things like keeping players from taking off right away on kickoffs and
Did
things
you guys
like that.
see? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm saying like there are measures that are put in place that I agree with to help player safety. And while it may make like onside kicks more difficult to get, it also, I mean, injuries on onside kicks are like way down, right? So like there are some things that are good, but like at some point, this is a violent sport, and it's a sport that grown ass men are playing with passion and vengeance, right? Because they have to, because like defensive players are defending their territory, right? We have to allow defensive players to play. There's already enough in place that is supposed to elevate offenses. So it's and I'm saying all this because defense is the strength of our team, and like it's easy to say that, right? When we, our defense like makes plays and then the offense gets bailed out. But like at some point, enough's enough.
Can the Walter Penner Group volunteer to pay every fine on this team?
And then they call that bounty. They call that Bounty Gate 2.0 under Peyton.
Yeah. Oh my god, the amount of people that don't realize that was Greg Williams and not Sean Payton. I mean, not to say they didn't know about it, but like, Sean Payton's the head coach. It must be Sean Payton.
But more importantly, they're holding a grudge to Sean Payton because of that, because of the Bounty Gate.
Well, real quick, just slightly off topic. I can't remember exactly who this was. Did you guys see over the weekend the game where that player was flagged and fined, I believe, for taking his helmet off in the middle of a game? And he took his helmet off because his face mask was dangling off the helmet.
Yeah. There was the Minnesota Vikings game and the Chicago Bears game. And I think it was Jaquan Brisker who took his helmet off and his face mask was off. And they called a penalty. Like, it's just, what agenda are you trying to come across, right? Like,
that's the dumbest thing I've seen in my lifetime.
Well, and the thing is like, even with these fines, it's getting just absolutely ridiculous, not just from a Kareem Jackson point of view. Like, Amon St. Brown was fined for
the Amon St. Brown play. Yeah.
He was fined for something completely pathetic. Josh Jacobs, we hate the Raiders, but Josh Jacobs was fined for something absolutely pathetic, where he was like lowering his shoulder on contact, or
running too hard,
or like running too hard, like into a defender, blocking a guy or something, and they find him for it. Like, it's just like, what agenda are you trying to come across with? And we said it last week, and before we get into the offense, but to put a bow on it, but just like, more often than not, the way things are going and the way things are trending in the direction is you're going to be talking about a football league that is, aside from the no fun league, I mean, you're going to be talking about a league that is going to be flag football here pretty soon. Like, I mean, like the way things are going, because it is obviously, we know that the Pro Bowl has been scrapped to be flag football. So it's just like, everything is just feels like it's trending to, just the general direction of it. It's going to be flag football. Sorry. So rather than be offensive and, offend people with, any more, illegal hit talk, let's talk about that.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Let's talk about that offense.
Sorry, Matty, are you dunking chocolate into alcohol?
Actually, it's really damn good. Michael, that's for you, bud.
Okay.
I see the comment. Reese's Season Whiskey. Yep.
Oh my God.
I got this on lock, like PJ.
I didn't even see the comment. All right. So yeah, getting to the offensive side, I'd say this before someone steals it, because someone will steal this. We talked about how we had offensive tackles in hell this game. You know who wasn't in hell? Garrett fucking Bowles, man.
Yeah.
Garrett Bowles put Myles Garrett in hell. Myles Garrett was non-existent in this game. Going into this game, he has a legitimate reason to be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. Dude was absolutely just murdering and eviscerating people. And Garrett Bowles is like, nah, I'm fine. This is fine. This is just a Sunday for me. He just put the clamps on one of the best pass rushers in the league. It's ridiculous.
It was to the point with Garrett where, look, he has had to be fair, his contract season was
To be fair,
what was the best? What was the best season of his of his young career? I mean, he did enter the league at an older age, but like in his young NFL career, like that was his like best season. But what we're seeing now, and in particular that game against Myles Garrett, was the best game of his career. And Garrett has played exceptionally well this year already. And like the sack numbers are low, and it is, and again, you hate to be beating a drum, but like repetitiveness is a big thing here, in terms of with this winning streak. And the offensive line is performing at such a high level that you aren't necessarily making just Quinn Miners a priority. You're making Lloyd Cushenberry a priority. Lloyd
Cushenberry has been.
Cushenberry is graded out.
Smushenberry.
Oh my God!
Like
that's it. That's the one.
Cushenberry has turned out and graded to be maybe the best center in all of football this year, and he is up for a pay raise. And we know that the Walter Penner Group is drenched in cash. Like if you were to open up what is it, the Darkwing Duck or the DuckTales, the opening to DuckTales where he's just swimming in the gold.
He dives into the pool.
He just dives into the pool of gold.
The pool of money. Yeah,
that is literally the Walter Penner Group. In just how they're just
he's a free agent next year. We got
rolling with money. But I mean, like, so it is so important that the Broncos be able to lock that down, and more importantly though, if we're giving credit where credit is due to members of the coaching staff, Zach Strief, man.
Yeah, Zach
Strief. I mean, like it is. Oh man, it was amazing to see him go from a guy that Sean Payton trusted, and with what we're seeing now, it is so easy to see why, because they're playing at such a high level. Ben Powers is looking really really good right now. Like preseason was a bit sketchy, and you know who's even playing really well also? Mr. Mike McGlinchey.
His past few games, yeah.
His past few games, the pass blocking has been there. The run blocking obviously has been there. Like the more we say this, the competency and the success of this offensive line is one of the big reasons why the Broncos have this winning streak. And in large part, they're also finding their identity, right? And one more time again, here's the case where the Broncos found a way to win a different game right? In the same vein of maybe what we wanted to see with Javonte Williams and Samaje Perine in the running game. Samaje Perine is looking to possibly be, we said at one point possibly the way that Jaleel was running the football that maybe he was maybe the best running back on the team, but the way the stretch is going right now with Samaje and that OU DNA, maybe it's the beard actually, maybe it's his beard, but like
he got that Kratos beard going on.
But like for Perine, he is running hard between the tackles. You can't fumble him. Like you can't create a fumble off of him because he runs too dang hard. And just when you think you're done, try to tackle Javonte Williams. Here comes Perine to finish off a run. So I mean, like the Broncos truly have a two-headed monster now with Perine and
people
Javonte.
Talked about the thunder and lightning combo of like the quick and the bruising. The Samaje Perine Javonte Williams combo, it's just like the Mike Tyson 1-2 punch. They're both going to kill you. Samaje Perine, I wouldn't even be mad at all if we just extend him. We only signed him to a 2-year deal. Just give him more money.
Yeah. Extend him now.
2 years.
Yeah.
He's been great. He's incredibly reliable. Russ can trust him. He can throw the ball to him. He can get yards after the catch. Like Samaje Perine has been one of the most unsung heroes of this whole offense. You'd love to see it.
Like early on, I mean, even the announcers mentioned it. Like Russ was checking into the run plays. Pizza.
Pizza.
I guess like I haven't seen the film like for the replay, but in my mind, I remember there being like a stunt that the Browns were trying to do. But they were lined out wide and it was like kind of like trying to get pressure on the outside and bring somebody in. Anyway, we knew it was coming and we were able to open up huge holes in A-gap on either side. And it was just hand the ball off and run straight forward. And we're picking up 6, 7, 8 yards, like easily. I haven't seen that kind of effectiveness running the ball between the guards for our offense all season. And yet we do this against the number 1 ranked defense. Props goes to Peyton and the staff for putting us in the right position and seeing something on film and exploiting it, because like that's phenomenal. We were able to get into such good positions early and stay ahead of the sticks early, which allowed us to score touchdowns early and put the pressure on the team that we could not fall behind. So props to them for that.
And the thing that also falls into that, Matty, is in terms of the props and everything that goes, into putting them into really advantageous situations, is we got to talk about it. It has been something we've not talked about the last couple of weeks, but Russell Wilson pre-snap has been electric these last handful of weeks. And I think that the fact that they played Minnesota, people may not be bringing this part of it, but like the fact that Minnesota was a heavy blitz team, not only did the Broncos prepare for that Minnesota game, but it also helped prepare them for the Cleveland Browns game in the way that they are in terms of a heavy blitz team. But like Russell Wilson pre-snap in that game was spectacular. You said the pizza, but like he is doing an amazing job getting his team and, even the offensive line, Cushionberry. And I think that that's the thing, is when you are finally reaping the benefit of the draft pick that Matty and I saw initially with Lloyd Cushionberry. Let's not forget that Joe Burrow, Matty knows this because we talked about it like in our first, pilot episodes, of course, of the Manely Broncos podcast. But like Joe Burrow came in and said that Cushionberry was the anchor of that entire offense down there at LSU. Keep in mind that may be regarded as one of the best offenses in LSU football history and in NCAA history, with guys like obviously Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Terrence Marshall. I mean, that team was loaded, right? And so I think that so the fact that you are starting to see all parties involved with that, Russell Wilson, Cushionberry, the thing that I really like about it is the moment that you see it pre-snap, it's the quick reaction. like that they know exactly the responsibilities that are going to be taking place, which falls exactly on Cushenberry and Russ, and especially the coaching staff. But Russ pre-snap, it's clear he's seeing something when he's killing a play or he's, certainly breaking things down, that like he's seeing things so much better than you ever possibly could have imagined, even before the season. And a lot certainly has to do with that, of course, being, in a huddle and outside the huddle with like 15 seconds left or 20 seconds left, and you get the chance to really just get a chance to see the defense that is out there.
Well, and that really comes into play. Go ahead.
Oh, no. You got it, man.
You see where that really comes into play is in the red zone. And I know this has been brought up ad nauseum, but Russell Wilson obviously is the best quarterback in the NFL in the red zone. In the red zone, where you get down there and it gets more stringent with the defense. Like the defense has less field to protect. They can kind of bunch up more. You have to go through more people. Like that's where that shines. And I don't think people understand how important it is to have a quarterback that's good in the red zone. Like there's teams out there right now that are in the playoffs, the Jags specifically, in the playoffs right now. They can do whatever they want between the 20s. They get into the red zone and they struggle. They can't do anything in the red zone. And it hurts. Like having the guy that you can trust be in the red zone, make the right call, make the right read, change the play if you have to, change the protection, and know what's going to happen, invaluable.
Perfect. Like, first of all, saying Russ is the best quarterback in the red zone is something I didn't expect to hear about him quarterbacking the Broncos how we were last year.
Yeah.
It's pretty remarkable. And he leads the NFL in touchdown interception ratio. Like, awesome. Like, dude's been a stud.
That's the vintage.
Very, very interested, though. I know we played the game in Buffalo, but a lot of the games for our winning streak have been at home. Very interested to see this next couple of games, what that communication looks like pre-snap for the offense in hostile territory. It's going to be loud there in Houston this weekend. It's going to be a tough situation. Now, maybe the Chargers, like whatever.
I was going to say
Detroit will be tough. So. Detroit will be tough.
Detroit's
right?
Like,
we've got some very difficult road matchups coming up, and it's going to be paramount for the play call to get into him quick, for them to huddle up quick, get out quick, get to see the line, and then communication from the offensive line, Cushenberry being the captain of that communication, and then getting that out to the receivers, and especially for Russ to remember, hey, I got to tell Samaje, to slide here and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, all that has to happen pre-snap in a hostile environment, and we have to score points against these teams because they can score in bunches too. So there's a lot of pressure for us, which means we're probably going to be throwing quite a bit. And then there's going to be a lot of defensive pressure and stuff. So like there are a lot of secondary and third level effects that are going to come into play when you're on the road against teams that can score in bunches and get pressure on the quarterback. So very interested to see what happens with Russ there. But once we get in the red zone, like I feel very confident. 14 gonna come down with it somewhere, right? Or
14 down there somewhere.
Trotman's gonna get a knee or an ass cheek down in time before he slides out of bounds. Good job eating that extra Twinkie maybe that day or whatever, like to ensure that it got down quick. But
boy, did his extra
it's been phenomenal.
But
I do want to. Oh, last point on the red zone. I want to see us run the football more effectively in the red zone.
Yeah.
I do want to see that.
It surprised me that was Russ's first rushing touchdown of the year. It didn't feel that way.
Well,
but it was.
I think the thing that just makes it so, and this is my thing with Russ, is if you and Michael chimes in and basically says a little bit of that, where you really get the opportunity to see who Russ really is as a player, and then who he has been his entire career has been the red zone. So here are some stats real quick. He is 34 of 50, which is 68 completion percentage in the red zone. 68. That's darn near 70%, which is very, very good. The 220 yards passing, I mean, the passing yards are, but 17 touchdowns to 0 interceptions and a passer rating of 116. The play that really just illustrates this to it. Actually, there's two plays that illustrate it. It is the Troutman catch, of course, and how he manipulates the pocket, realizes that he's giving his wide receivers not just one opportunity, possibly, but two opportunities. And actually, maybe there's three. There's three cases of this. One wasn't even in the red zone. But he gives his wide receivers extra time in the red zone, and we know the red zone itself is a shortened field, right? Like it's a shortened field, so having that ability to extend plays the way Russ has been invaluable. Like, I mean, so I think that, and the other play that really has this, and why the Broncos are in just they're humming in all cylinders, if you will, but yet they're not perfect. You know, we were trying to figure out what is the best way to possibly get Marvin Mims the football. Well, the play where you saw both of them clicking, and for, you know, them not necessarily, you know, maybe you could say not being on the exact same page in the season, right? Not necessarily being on the same page in the season, but to see both of them really illustrate from Mims' perspective the scramble drill as from the wide receiver point of view, and then
Tim Jenkins gotta love that.
Yeah, and then Russ extending that play and throwing that pass where truly only Mims could get it, and it was a superb catch. It was a superb catch, and frankly, as much as we were saying, you know, how some of these previous plays look like Tyler Lockett, if there is one play that solidified what Tyler Lockett looked like, and you know, with Russell Wilson, it was that play right there with Marvin Mims. Like, those are the kinds of plays that were great when Russ was truly like just so fabulous. And even then, like, that's why you saw things like with Doug Baldwin, Jermaine Kearse, right? Golden Tate, of course, was another one when he was in Seattle. So it's just like the little things really do matter when you are between the 20s and, of course, when you're in the red zone.
That Marvin Mims, Russell Wilson budding connection that they have going on there is going to be special.
Mims was so close to busting that loose too. He was so close to being able to completely turn up field and get some separation, and they just barely got him down. He might have scored, like with how he was breaking away. Like, and that's something we haven't seen a lot. So if you want to nitpick our offense a little bit, like P. Ryan's caught and ran, right? We've had like underneath throws where guys catch and run. We haven't had a lot of run after catch in this offense.
You haven't had the quick passes to wide receivers as much. Yeah.
I will say this may have been the first game where we saw some of that in terms of some of the yards after catch. You know, you saw it a little. In fact, the last two games, you're seeing the screen game be a little bit more effective, and you are seeing the yards after catch be a little bit more effective. Case in point, the little Jordan Humphrey slant play went for
that was awesome.
So I think that maybe what we need to, and this is my tying of the bow, if you will, before we move on to our next topic, not the Texans game preview, but our another topic, is maybe we shouldn't be talking about, and this is again to plant a seed, maybe we shouldn't be talking about Russell Wilson not being on the Denver Broncos roster in 2024, but the fact that Sean Payton is expanding this offense more and more as the season is progressing, so much so that we could get the opportunity to see what this offense is going to be like in 2024 with the full cast of characters that are currently on this roster, with some, of course, new pieces that they do add in the draft.
Yeah, and one of the things real quick that I was just going to mention before we tie up on it, right, that just kind of like plays into what you were talking about, is I feel like you've also seen some more of the, not like deep shots, but you've seen some more of the like 10, 15, 20 yard completions that you weren't really seeing as much before. And like, I know the yardage totals look kind of down. Part of that too is like Courtland Sutton doesn't get flagged for that touch, shove, whatever you want to.
Which was a catch, by the way.
Like literally just tapped him. Yeah. Comes down with that. Those numbers look different. But what I was going to say is both of those plays where Courtland Sutton runs that basically slant towards the corner of the end zone, and just Greg Newsome needs to retire because he just literally was not even remotely close to him. Yeah. And Russ kind of extends time and is able to find him for a big gain. Like, you haven't even seen that much in previous weeks, and doing it again against the best defense. Like, you're just building momentum. We're like a snowball rolling down a hill.
And I think what's so beautiful is that, the Broncos hitting their 5-game winning streak, it's hitting at the right time. You know why I say that? Because the Pro Bowl voting has opened. And if there's one thing that this is going to allow, it's going to allow fans the recency bias to possibly look at the Broncos as, are there some legitimate Pro Bowl caliber players that are on this roster? And maybe we shouldn't be talking about how there are just 1 or 2 players that are, representatives in the Pro Bowl, but maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe there's 4 with a couple alternates. So I think that there's a chance here that the Broncos have some representatives and quite a few representatives, in the Pro Bowl this time, or at least get their Pro Bowl recognition. So I'm kind of curious, who you guys feel, off the top of your guys' head that might be a Pro Bowl consideration.
Boyd Cushenberry.
All right, you're not going to get you're not going to get any knock from me on that.
Matty, him and honestly, wild take. We could have 3 offensive linemen in the Pro Bowl of some caliber. I mean, I don't think it happens. Maybe one of them is an alternate. Even that's a bit high, but I could say that about Lloyd Cushenberry. I could say that about Garrett Bowles. What was funny? Mitchell Fabroni. I could say that about Quinn Miners.
I'm going to give this layup to Matty and the OU DNA.
I had to let him have something.
But yeah, I mean, you got to give it to Mims, right? For at least as a returner here in the Pro Bowl.
100%. You got to give it to Mims for special teams, and Michael is right on all over it. Best return man the Broncos have had since Darian Gordon, potentially. Yeah. Maybe you could say Trendon Holiday for that.
Yeah, I was going to say Trendon Holiday exists, even though he fumbled several times.
He does exist.
He may be 5'5", but he does exist.
But man, when Mims gets a chance to return it, it's like,
Jordan Norwood was something.
Fair, okay. Like a couple good ones, right? That flash, but Mims is consistent. Like whenever he gets a chance to return it, like it's hold your breath. Something's getting ready to happen. So stud there. The thing that's going to be a struggle for me moving forward is if he becomes a bigger piece of our offense.
Yeah.
Do we still allow him to go out and make himself available for getting hit in the open field and all that stuff? So like we'd have to be smart about it, but my goodness, like he's so elite at that. And if you're a rookie and you find something, like you have something that you bring to the table that you're elite at in the league already, like that pays dividends. And the guy, I mean, field position battle, big return against the Bills that put us in position, right? Like just constantly finding times to put us in position to do the damn thing offensively. So it's very nice to know that if Mims gets a chance to return it, that the field position battle is going to be on our side. So in the last 7 years, we've constantly been getting punished in the field position battle. I feel like we started inside our own 20, like 80% of the time, with our old offense. So yeah, definitely Mims. I would like to see more offensively, and I hope that we're able to scheme some of that in the back half of the season. But definitely the special teams. I don't know anybody else, right? Bland's getting pick sixes. He's not getting kick return touchdowns and stuff. So
yeah.
I just need to witness in the back half of the season. I need to witness a Russell Wilson to Marvin Mims moonball. I don't even care if it's one time.
For a score, like we should say,
for a score.
For a score. Not
even if it's not a score. Even if it's like just get him into the red zone. Russ is good in the red zone. Like for a score, ideally, but I need it like I need air.
Well, but again, like we did see it at the beginning part of the season, but like to your point though, like it's been a bit. We haven't seen it. I mean, we need it. There are so many deserving candidates, and I think that's where it's gratifying. It is so gratifying to say that there are so many deserving candidates that should be at the Pro Bowl, right? You said that we could possibly have 3 offensive linemen, Brandon. that be representatives. I mean, there's an argument for that. We said how good Garrett Bowles has been playing, this year. We talked about Lloyd Cushenberry. We know that maybe Quinn Miners might actually end up being the best offensive lineman on the team.
Quinn Miners could be an all-pro.
He could be an all-pro and a very wealthy man after the season. And I think that, so he could even be a Pro Bowler. I think the one that I would love to stump for, I don't think he's going to get it. I don't think that, he will make the Pro Bowl. And I'm not saying, the ones that are easy to roll off the tongue like Pat Surtain and, Justin Simmons. But dang it, I want Jaquan McMillan to be representing in the Pro Bowl right now. Like, the guy has literally been one of the key cogs of this defense, and I want him to get some Pro Bowl recognition. If he even gets one Pro Bowl vote, I will be happy. But like McMillan, I mean, the guy has been a turnover magnet in this streak. And if there's one thing that has been, big with this is the recency bias. And recently he's been responsible for a lot of turnovers on that defense. And frankly, was the closest of the interceptions to go for a pick six. So I think that, if there's a player, that is deserving, one of the players I should say that is deserving, it is McMillan.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, easy.
We would say the Croatian sensation, but one thing we know that he is a Pro Bowl at is getting injured all the time. By the way, speaking...
hold on. Baron Browning, man. Baron Browning being back. Baron Browning's probably going to make the Pro Bowl. I'm surprised, Matty, that you haven't said Nick Bonito yet. I wanted to give it to you. I wanted to hand it to you on the silver platter.
So the reason why it's just like, okay.
You want to say it. It's on the tip of your tongue.
Let's go ahead and look at this, right? Let's look at defense. Bonito is sitting at 20th right now in sacks at 7. Like, in the AFC, we've got TJ Watt, Khalil Mack, Myles Garrett, Josh Allen, Max Crosby, right? Like all up top with 13 to 11 and a half, 13 and a half to 11 and a half sacks already, like doubling him up. And sacks is like, as an edge guy, like sacks are the number one stat. I think he's had a tremendous impact on our defense, and ball knowers know that. But man, that's a huge mountain to have to climb, just in the AFC alone.
I think if you're gonna have, but I agree with you. I just wanted to give you your guy, and I agree with you. Same thing. Baron Browning only has 3 sacks, but he obviously also missed some games. He came in. We've basically won every game since he's been back. I mean, I think he can definitely add to that number. I think one of them could be an alternate. I don't think it happens, but like I just wanted to give them more props, and I wanted to let you, I wanted to hand you your guy. So
before we jump into our Texans preview, what's your final prediction? What's your final prediction for Broncos that make the Pro Bowl? I say 4.
If I'm being deadly serious, like I'm not joking around saying guys that I would like to see go there, I'm going to stick with including the obvious ones. 5.
And is that including an alternate or just 5 Pro Bowlers?
It could be alternates.
Okay. What about you, Mr. OU DNA?
So PS2 and Simmons are locks. Mims is a lock, I think. And then
it gets tricky.
one of our offensive linemen. I can't.
I went with Miners personally,
but yeah. So I think 4 is a really solid number, which is really, that's a tremendous number for a team that started 1-5, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yes, Michael, Ball Knowers sponsored by Manscaped.
Mm-hmm. Wow. The only reason I went with 5 is I couldn't between Jaquan McMillan, Baron Browning, Garrett Bowles.
Yeah.
Zach Allen, Cortland Sutton.
Russ?
Between those guys, Russ,
Russell
those guys
Wilson,
probably
maybe.
one of those guys probably going to be an alternate.
Like the stats aren't there, but some of the like advanced analytics stats, right? And QBR and all that good stuff, like is there for Russ, red zone efficiency, all that. But like this team keeps winning games and they end up with 10 or 11 wins. Like he's firmly in that conversation.
Yeah.
It's certainly not going to be Herbert, right?
So,
Burrow's hurt. Like what? Like let's look real quick. Let's look at quarterbacks, right? Like obviously Patty Mahomes is going to get in. You're going to have Lamar Jackson, right? Josh Allen maybe by stats, but if they miss the playoffs, does he still get in?
Maybe. And the other thing we have to keep in mind too is the Super Bowl, right? When you're in the Super Bowl,
Stroud probably.
You can't play in the Pro Bowl. So I just think that like maybe
Russ won't play in the Pro Bowl then.
You're right. The way that, because if we're not going to lose another game,
Never.
That's right. I say 4. So I say the 4 will be PS2. Justin, I am the best safety in the NFL. Simmons. Let's see. I go with Miners. I think Miners is going to get in. And I'm going to say Cortland. Cortland gets in. Not as an alternate. But I think Cortland actually gets in. And I think Mims. Actually, you know what? I'm going to extend it to 5. I say 5.
You've forgotten Mims.
So I'm going to say 5. That it's Cortland, Mims. Mims is a returner. Miners gets in, and then you have obviously PS2 and Simmons. Yeah, so I'm going to say 5. The one I'm not going to rule out, though, that we never mentioned, and we hadn't even mentioned his name. Don't be surprised if Will Lutz gets consideration. Will Lutz has been nails. I mean, I'm not going to talk about the Bills game, but like so far this year, though, I mean, he has been he's been pretty nails in terms of like what we've needed.
The only problem with that is the Ravens are an AFC team. And
he did miss a kick though.
Yeah, but that's like, what if his 15 career misses in years?
Okay. Let me ask you this question. Oh, you're talking Justin Tucker,
Justin
right?
Tucker.
How many field goals do you think he's missed on the season?
Season? I know I saw him miss one in the Chargers.
How many has he missed on the season?
1?
Brandon,
4?
Yes. 5.
Okay. I know they kicked some really long ones.
Okay. His long is 50 yards this year, which is weird.
They tried some, I think, didn't they try some like really long ones though?
Yeah. Well, he's 1 for 5 from deep, which is what he's known for, right?
Yeah.
And he missed an extra point. So
yeah, that was
he
weird.
hasn't been perfect. He hasn't been automatic. Dustin Hopkins statistically has been amongst the best. So 28 of 31.
Yeah, he would.
Lutz has been 24 of 30 or 26. So
I just think if we're looking at the rest of the season, I can't bet against him.
Against Lutz?
Against Justin Tucker.
Yeah, I mean it's tough for the one-seeded Baltimore Ravens to not have Justin Tucker there representing them, as someone predicted. But Lutz has been much better of late. Thank goodness to the 12th man helping Russell Wilson out once again.
Will Clutch Lutz. That is his name. All right. So moving on, it's really important that we talk about the Texans game because there's a really important question that I have to phrase once we're done with this, and it does have to relay back to the postseason. Matty knows about this because he saw me ask it in the predominantly orange chat before And actually, it seems like Pro Football Focus, hacked into the predominantly orange chat because they shared it about like 3 hours ago, 4 hours ago. But we'll talk about that later. This Texan game is massive. Like it is. It's really correlated to almost one of the biggest games of the season, which you never, as we prefaced in the beginning, it never had the idea in our brains that this is going to be one of the biggest games of the season. Like we knew that Detroit was going to be a tricky one, the one after this, but not Houston. We actually called at one point the Houston game possibly a trap game for the Broncos because they were playing Detroit. And now you just simply have two very tough games back to back in Houston and Detroit on the road. And of course, affecting playoff positioning and in a division of the AFC South that is still very much in doubt. So the fact that Jacksonville did beat Houston still allows some flexibility for both of them to win that division. And so what I'm trying to preface this by saying is a loss the worst thing known to man? Or is it just the fact that, we are playing a much better Houston Texans team than maybe we're giving ourselves credit for, or just a better Houston Texans team overall?
I'm going to say this, and this might be slightly a hot take, although not anymore recently. I'm more worried about the Texans game than the Detroit Lions game. I think
is that because
I don't agree, but I'm interested.
That's why I said I think it's a hot take. I'm not saying that the Lions game doesn't scare me, because they are an incredibly good team. I picked Dan Campbell to be my coach of the year, but I do think Jared Goff has looked a bit off the past couple weeks. He's still been good, but he threw 3 picks against the Bears, and this defense just gets takeaways. I just think CJ Stroud is a better quarterback than Jared Goff right now. Jared Goff at home is a ridiculous stat line. His road home splits are just stupid. And obviously we're playing them in Detroit. I still am worried about the game.
Unless he's playing the Green Bay Packers on Thanksgiving.
Yeah. I just think CJ Stroud is a better quarterback. I think it depends on if Tank Dell can play, which I think it's leaning towards he can. Then I'm still leaning into the Texans scare me more. If Tank Dell is out, it becomes a bit more.
I would expect him playing.
Yeah, I think he's playing. But this is going to be a test. I know I said that the Browns game was going to be a test, but the Browns also didn't really have a quarterback. Although DTR played kind of good, not gonna lie. But yeah, just CJ Stroud is a top 6 quarterback. Am I insane for saying that?
No,
because he's in the MVP conversation, legitimately. Yeah.
It's gonna be it's an interesting matchup. You got CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans offense, really, really good offense against this really good defense. Now you have our blooming offense against the Texans. Okay, defense. It's just kind of an average defense. It's one of the, I will say this, of the teams in this winning streak that we've played, it's one of the worst defenses because we've played so many good ones. So it'll be interesting.
Big. Okay, so Noah Brown limited in practice today. Dalton Schultz didn't practice due to hamstring injury. That's huge. Dalton Schultz could be the X factor because we are exploitable against tight end. Njoku could have done a ton more damage to us, but he had several drops. Rankins, questionable, no comment. And then Fant and Tunsil on the offensive line, both questionable, though probably will go. Didn't see anything about practice participation for them. Big news, Titus Howard, however, is on injured reserve with the knee. So, that's going to help, right? The strength of our defense is playing against the pass. And if their offensive line is hurt, that's going to allow our strength to put Stroud in positions to turn the ball over, which he's been prone to do the last 2 to 3 weeks. So it does seem as though, like, I'm not saying the luster's come off because the dude is a stud. He is money. And he has a lot of weapons to utilize, but he's not playing perfect football the way he was like the first 8-ish weeks of the season. So we're getting pressure amongst the highest in the league. And obviously we're the best at getting turnovers. So that could be huge for us, especially if we don't have somebody like Dalton Schultz holding us hostage in the middle of the field and we can pin our ears back and go.
I will say though, I am slightly concerned them not having Titus Howard is helps this, but Devin Singletary has had a low-key slight resurgence in Houston in the past few weeks. I mean, like, I know going into this year, Damian Pierce was kind of like the hot name, and he kind of fell off weirdly, and they can't really run the ball. But Devin Singletary against the Bengals, 150 yards. Against the Cardinals, 112 yards. Against the Jags, he didn't really do much on the ground, but they threw to him 6 times, and he did pretty well in the passing game, and we obviously can't stop the run. So it's kind of like a hot and cold thing with Devin Singletary, like especially when he was a Bill. Like he was kind of just known as a mid-back, but he can kind of gash you, and we can't stop the run.
Well, and the thing to that is because we can't stop the run, and the thing that's going to make this such a chess match between Ryan's coaching staff and Peyton's coaching staff is, Bobby Slowick is a guy that we need to remember, for this upcoming coaching cycle, because he could be a head coach.
We're going to get an interview in Carolina.
But like, he's such a smart offensive line from, yes, you guys know it, that Shanahan tree, that it would not surprise me if you did see CJ Stroud maybe pass less just for the sake of, wanting to be more successful in running the football. Now, I think it's really important. I will say it is so important that the Broncos do what we've been accustomed to seeing in the winning streaks and get ahead. Like, get some momentum. Not talked about, but I think that the fact that we were able to successfully go up 14-0 early against Cleveland was massive. Certainly, it was 14-12 and it got close there. But, with who the Browns were on offense and who they had a quarterback or I should say quarterbacks with PJ Walker and DTR, like, it at least created some wiggle room there where, the Broncos can continue to rush the passer. So if you can come out to a hot start, play fast, and, at least get some momentum and be consistent in running the football and get some chunk plays, get some big plays a little bit in the middle part of the field, maybe with a guy like a little Jordan Humphrey, or maybe we see guys like Cortland, used a little bit more. Maybe this is the Jerry Jeudy game, right? So, I mean, like, make sure that you can be able to utilize some of the big plays down the field or in the intermediate passing game. Like, get some chunk plays out of this, and then just do it so that you can be able to unleash your pass rush a little bit against CJ Stroud. So again, like, the fact that we're able to unleash the pass rush in this winning streak is a big part of this. And if you don't have the lead, you can't necessarily unleash the pass rush as much, right? You can't get to the quarterback as much when you have the lead, because, they're going to be running the football a lot. And we know that running the football neutralizes a pass rush.
I mean, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, I gotta look something up anyway. You got it.
No, I'm just gonna wait for you to do it now.
Okay. I kind of agree with you. However, that's their strength. Actually, they kind of want
semicolon. However, yeah. Anyway, continue.
But it's the saying is however, right? Anyway,
Oh my God.
That's their strength. They want to play fast and loosey-goosey, and they want to try to get in shootouts. That's what they want. What they don't want is Stroud sitting on the sideline. And I'm not saying be conservative, But I am saying, like, if we can go out and punish them, and this is by far going to be the worst defense we've faced in a while. We faced some very good defenses of late, like elite level defenses of late. Why not? Like, I would love for us to get the ball first and for us to be able to eat up like 7 minutes and go right down the field and score a touchdown. Like, I would, there's not a whole lot more in the world that would give me joy. Maybe dipping Reese's into whiskey gives me a little bit more joy, but like that would be fantastic. Why? Because that team's going to be hyped and they're going to be ready for Stroud to go nuclear and all of that stuff. And what
he may loot, but I mean,
But we go bust them in the mouth. We eat up clock. We keep them on the sideline, and next thing you know, they're down 7-0, and they're like, "Great, I got warmed up like 25 actual minutes ago or 30 actual minutes ago, and now I got to come out here." And it puts pressure on them, right? And so, they want to be able to be fast. They want to be able to make us wrong in the pass game. They want to be able to throw the ball downfield. Stroud scrambles so that he can throw it downfield. He doesn't want to check it down a lot. Like, it sounds very vanilla, but like, eat up a lot of clock, keep the play in front of you, get pressure on him when you need to, and like, let the rookie make mistakes. I think that's the formula for success for us. Not trying to beat them 31-28. I think if it gets into that range, like, we're going to be potentially in trouble. I know that the strength of our team is pass rush and defense and all that stuff, and we can maybe get opportunistic turnovers, but like, let's kind of beat their defense into submission, keep their offense off schedule and off rhythm, and keep the big play from happening. And I think in a hostile environment that we're 3.5-point underdogs, the Broncos could go in and get the win. When many people may not be betting on the Broncos outside of Adam Rank to win this game this week. But I think that's the formula.
Adam Rank and Daniel Jeremiah.
Yeah. This could be another small JP game. It's going to happen again. I'm telling you, we're going to he's going to gash him on the ground. Javonte is going to run through on the focus face, and we're going to pass the ball to Samaj out of the backfield 5-6 times. Like, that's what you have to do. Like, we got to turn this into like a 12-play drive grind fest. Like, make their defense stay out on the field, make their offense sit on the bench. Then their offense comes back in. Our defense is fresh. Our defense does what our defense does best, and then we have to go back out there and do it again. Like, if we can get a pick, like, if we have, let me tell you this, we have a 12-play drive, we store a touchdown.
Yeah.
Their offense comes back out. We get a turnover. We get back out there and have the ball for another 5 minutes. Like, that's how you get ahead of this team and make them have to play from behind and make them have to sit on the bench and make them make mistakes.
Yeah, I think the thing that would make this also laughable, and I say this from a positive when I say laughable. The Broncos, as we said earlier, they are winning multiple different ways, right? The Broncos are winning multiple different ways in this winning streak. So where am I going with this? I would not be surprised with the Denver Broncos winning so many different ways that maybe this is the game the Broncos win. That's a shootout, or like where this is the game where we get maybe a 270, 280, maybe close to 300 yards, Russell Wilson, and this is the 4-touchdown game or 3-4 touchdown game that you get from Russell Wilson. And then at that point, like, if you're able to get that, and at least have a decent enough lead, you absolutely will be able to create a lot of opportunities for you if you have the lead, like turnovers and rushing the passer. And so I think it's going to be a fun one to watch. Now,
dude, this becomes a vintage Russell Wilson and CJ Stroud shootout. A nuclear blast isn't getting me away from the TV.
So the thing I want to end with is this. I tweeted it out, and then Pro Football Focus tweeted it around 4:00 this morning, maybe beating me to the punch. But how confident are you? How confident are you in the Broncos going to the playoffs? So they beat Cleveland. If they beat Houston, what is your confidence level at going to the playoffs? And since they beat Cleveland, if they lose to Houston, what is your confidence level at? I think Pro Football Focus had it at 64% chance of making the playoffs if they beat the Houston Texans this weekend, but it's also a 21% chance if they lose to the Houston Texans. So what is your guys' confidence level?
If we don't beat the Texans, we're going to have to win out because we still have 3 AFC West games on the schedule. I'll say this, I'm much more confident if we do beat the Texans.
I mean,
not that I'm losing all hope, but yeah.
Like, so we're both 6-5, right? Mm-hmm. We would go to 6-6. They would go to 7-5, and they would have the tiebreaker. So we're probably not going to catch Houston, right? There are a lot of teams in really advantageous positions. Like we don't look at Pittsburgh as a threat enough, but their schedule is fairly easy on the back end of the
somehow
season.
Once again,
right?
They hoodwink everyone every week.
I mean, they finally got 400 yards of offense. Congratulations! But like,
here's a Christmas
very winnable games, right? And Baltimore, my God, like they're in a tough division by wins and losses, but is there any team in that division that really, like, I know Cleveland just beat them like 33-31 or whatever, but my gosh, like Cincinnati's not a threat now. Pittsburgh, they're going to piece together wins, but I don't think they're a threat overall. And then like we just saw what Cleveland is touting out there, and now Garrett's hurt and all this other stuff. Like the wheels are about to fall off completely for them. Baltimore's got the path, but like the Steelers aren't going anywhere. The Colts losing Jonathan Taylor for a couple weeks might hurt, but Zach Moss torched Tennessee in week 4. He could do it again. Like there are all these paths for these teams that are ahead of us that we don't play that or right with us that like it's easier for them, right? Like they don't have teams like Detroit to play. They don't have the Texans necessarily to play. So I say all that to say our margin for error is small, even though we're on this win streak and it feels good and national media is talking about us. We really don't have much margin for error at all. So if we lose this game, we're not catching the Texans. We're probably not catching the Steelers. And then we're fighting for that last wild card spot. And who knows, right, at that point. So I agree, Mike. Michael beat Houston, or for all intents and purposes, we're out. I kind of agree. Like we're still going to play, the rest of the season matters. Like maybe, okay. So hypothetical, we lose to Houston and we beat Detroit. Like that seems like, okay. Like, if we got out of one of those 2 games with a win, feels good. The problem is Houston's team we're chasing, and AFC tiebreaker and common opponent, and all those things could come into play later on. So we're dominating the NFC. We're 3-0 against the NFC, or 3-1, excuse me, against the NFC right now with the loss of the Commanders. So like our win percentage there is good. It's the losses to like the Jets and the Raiders early on that are killer. So yeah, Houston being an AFC team that we're chasing, it's tough sledding if we lose this game.
Houston's remaining schedule, they play the Jets after the Broncos. So it's going to be a defensive game possibly there.
That's a dub, easy.
But it could even be an easy dub for the Texans because, the Jets have Tim Boyle at quarterback. They play the Titans. Then the Browns are in Houston. And then you got the Titans. So they play the Titans basically 2 of the last 3 weeks. And then they end the season with the Indianapolis Colts. And then as far as, for instance, like if it's the Jaguars, right, that we'll be chasing. So the Jaguars have the Bengals this weekend. They have the Browns in Cleveland. They have the Ravens. Then you have the Buccaneers, the Panthers, and the Titans. So there's at least more. It's more of a favorable end of the schedule for Houston's point of view. For them to, if they beat the Broncos, go on a little bit of a run themselves and finish the season on a much higher note than anyone had anticipated, for probably anyone except for those Houston Texans. So I think for the Broncos standpoint too, yeah, you can absolutely get in, but the thing to keep in mind here is you are playing the Raiders to end the season. And that Raiders game, as much as it's winnable now, it's still a very sketchy game because now Josh McDaniels is not there anymore, and it's an Antonio Pierce-led team, which we have seen in the last few weeks. They are playing a harder brand of football than under Josh McDaniels. We know certainly that an interim head coach will always have their players playing a lot harder. And at the end of the season, it's the last game of the season. Emotions will be riding high. I'm curious how that is going to end and it's in Vegas. But the thing that it's going to be, I'm curious about is that Baltimore game against the Chargers theoretically eliminated the Chargers out of the playoffs. And why do I say the Chargers? Because we played the Chargers twice, and the Chargers, at least for us, could play spoiler to us not making the playoffs. Because we could lose to the Chargers. The Chargers may not actually charger, if you will, against us and take a game, right? So for the Broncos, it may seem favorable, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that, if you do lose to Detroit, that you also lose to the Chargers in Los Angeles, and you win, with the Chargers, but that may not necessarily help you in the long run, right? So if you beat the Houston Texans, there's a lot more wiggle room for you to go to the playoffs. And hopefully that's the case. Like I said, hopefully that's the case. But for me, it's those two Chargers games that I think is the trickiest ones for me, because you have no idea what team is truly going to show up. And I know we play well against the Chargers, but Justin Herbert still kind of scares the crap out of me at times, because it's like, when you have nothing to play for also, when you have nothing to play for, it raises all boats.
We're the polar opposite of the Chargers, though. We find ways to win. They find ways to lose.
They snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Seriously.
You guys feel what I'm saying, though. Like, I know
I know what you're saying. Yeah, for sure. But that's why I'm not as worried about those games.
Well,
and I'm talking more about Houston, and I'm talking more about Detroit.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if the Chargers had hired Sean Payton instead?
No, I can't, and I don't want to, and you can't make me. Can you imagine if we get through Houston and Detroit unscathed? Like, let's live in that land. Like, dude, my mind's gonna go to some crazy places.
Yeah,
if
we get to that point, like, I mean, so the last teams to start the way that we did, right? Or not the way we did.
What you're saying?
The last team to
have
do
a
it
5+ to have a 5+ win streak or whatever. Like, I saw it, on a graphic, ESPN. You can take what it is. But like the Chiefs did it, they won 10 straight and they went to the Super Bowl, right? And a lot of other teams have gone 5 straight. Like, if we surpass those teams, and like the Chiefs Super Bowl run is like square in our sights based on, like what it is, like, I go to some wild places, because the only team of consequence that we wouldn't have beaten in the AFC that we played is Miami. And I think that we'd be significantly better. Obviously, like, nowhere to go but up from losing by 50. No chance to play Baltimore. And while I think they are the most complete team in the AFC, when you play good defense and you're efficient in the red zone and you don't make mistakes, you can compete with anyone. So, like, it's wild. We may be the scariest team in football is a wild card team.
Yeah.
If we run the table on the back end, but we just can't catch Kansas City because there are too many games ahead of us.
Yeah.
So it's incredible to think about what the Broncos could be if we get through Houston and Detroit. I'm not saying like let down or whatever, and other teams get a vote, and the Raiders hate us, and the Chargers hate us as much as they hate themselves. Like it's a thing, but man, the hopium is. I'm going to be on full on hopium at that point. 97 vibes exactly, because we had to go on the road against Kansas City to win. They ended up winning the division. Good point, Josh. They won the division. I think by a game-winning field goal against us late in the season, and then we couldn't catch them. So we had to go on the road against Kansas City in like -2-degree temperatures with like ice on seats and everything else, and it was ugly. And we ended up getting the dub against them, but we ended up finishing out. I think we were the first wild card team to actually like go win the Super Bowl in like forever at that point. So yeah, good. That's very good. A lot of similarities. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna throw up. So yeah, good point.
But we all we're trying to say here, to the Broncos and to anybody, that is a player that are actually checking out this stream, this is all we're trying to tell you.
You can do it.
Yes, sir.
How long are we waiting to drop that one?
Just a little bit.
Hey, where's Will Ferrell? I need Will Ferrell.
Oh, you want Will Ferrell in terms of
I need him. I'm a little stitious.
You're a little stitious?
We're going streaky.
Yes. Now, it is a custom, that if the Broncos, do win this game, that we at least get a pancake from none other than Quinn Minor. So, so Matty, you're gonna have to. You gave us the truffle shuffle, but
I was gonna say it's not exactly the same. You did the truffle shuffle. You didn't do the
truffle shuffle with a little rub.
But it's a bit different. There you go.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, let's get the 6th win, because I certainly don't have a 6-pack. So let's go.
They're gonna after the season, after we win 10 straight, because Matty Mulls rubs his belly, you're gonna have people coming around from far and wide to rub the lucky belly. You're gonna be able to charge people.
Honestly, at this point,
do it for free.
Honestly,
it was like a statue in somewhere in Europe that's like lucky, and people come and rub its feet. It's that.
I was gonna say
the only thing that's still gold.
I was gonna say at this point, with the fact that we have an MHRT Network merch store, I'm gonna have to pitch to Mike that we're gonna have to have some Matty.
We gotta get it on a shirt.
We're gonna have to give Matty the belly rub T-shirt if the Broncos make the playoffs.
Someone send it to Quinn Miners, please.
Which, by the way, we do have it. We do have an MHRT Network merch store, so you guys can go check it out. I'll drop the link. And you guys can go buy some Manely Broncos merch for yourselves. So that's definitely a fun little site to go get some merch, and hopefully Matty and Brandon, you guys got some merch. Let's end this. No, I said
I know. Hey, it's still merch.
It's merch. It's like the merch before we, joined MHRT merch. But I mean, hey, it's merch. All right, let's finish this off with some NFL picks. All right, guys. Can I just say that apparently the Eagles are, winning games that are in essence possible Super Bowl previews?
Dude, every Eagles game is exactly the same. They're all exactly the same.
So Thursday night's game. Thursday night's game is the Seattle Seahawks and the Dallas Cowboys. By the way, can we talk about Dak Prescott's comments for a second? Why? It's one thing to say that the Seattle Seahawks have possibly a good secondary. It was weird that he would come out and say they have a very handsome secondary.
Is that what he said? I didn't see that.
That's apparently what he said. They have a very handsome secondary.
I mean, hold on. Let me be the judge of that. Who's in their secondary?
I mean, you got
Let's see
Devin.
here.
You got Devin Witherspoon, right? I mean, Tariq Woolen. I mean,
Didn't they bench Tariq Woolen?
I think they did, but yeah.
I mean, Devin Witherspoon is. He
got benched in the 49ers game, but no, he's been.
No, I'm literally looking at pictures of them and deciding if they're handsome.
So is he calling them the Legion of Groomed?
Oh my god. That's it. That's it without context.
Yeah, that's
That's fantastic. It's either that or the truffle shuffle.
Yeah. All right.
That was good. Yeah, I didn't hear that, but that's hilarious.
Who wins? Cowboys. Cowboys.
It's
and
the
Seahawks.
Cowboys.
Yeah, it's almost
It's the
Cowboys, right?
Cowboys all day. Like, I think Cowboys could win that by 20. No cap.
And it's in Dallas. And the question is Deron Bland gonna extend the streak even more?
Probably.
Bland is anything but vanilla, but I don't think so. I don't think he gets another one. Hot take: he doesn't get a pick 6 this week.
Right. Look at that, Matty. Congratulations. You just moved us up 2 slots this week just by the Legion of Groom.
Legion of Groom. All right, Michael, since you're still here, I saw your comment about my background. 2 things. 1, blame Josh Sherman because he gave it to me. And 2, I said I was never changing it as long as we're winning, because every time I've had this background, we win. So we're doing the same thing every episode.
So we get to see
Legion of
Exorcist
Groom.
Cam in the background.
Yeah,
That's right.
you're gonna see this throughout the playoffs.
It's certainly possible.
I'll zoom in. I'll make it bigger.
And this is one of the reasons why Broncos is so much better streamed than audio. Audio format's fine. Audio format's fine. But I mean, if that's your cup of tea and you can listen in your car, but you are certainly missing out on opportunities like this, like Matty's belly rub, or filters that involve me and my face, and possible filters that were done by Josh Sherman, of course.
I have an entire Michael, you don't even know, man. I have an entire folder on my computer that's just Cam memes.
Yeah.
That we're just waiting for a rainy day.
All right.
Yeah, obviously it's gonna be the Cowboys. Like,
Let's wait.
Let's go with this one. We'll end it. Broncos and Texans. Broncos and Texans. Are they going to do it?
Well, we did everything the same. Matty did the belly rub. He even did the truffle shuffle,
which is
Ride or
new.
die, baby.
I will say this,
We're gonna win.
which is new. The truffle shuffle is new.
But he still did the belly rub.
Okay, all right.
It's okay. He still did it. I'm gonna say we're winning. I'm gonna say again, it's gonna be a close game. It's gonna be like a 3-point game, but we're gonna win.
What about you, Matty?
So, I think it's going to be 24-20 Broncos.
4 point.
I think I yesterday I said 27-24 Broncos. But also before the season, to kind of keep true to what I was saying, I did predict that this was going to be a win, so I'll stay true to that. But I say 27-24 Broncos. And
I'm gonna say 23-20.
23-20. Then
You literally just $1'd me. You Price is Righted me.
Bro, I said 3-point swing, close game. First. I said it first.
Oh, you said 24-20. I'm saying 23-20. Okay.
I had said
All
a 3-point game first. Bitch.
Okay.
all right.
Be
love you
careful. It's gonna be your picture next. Unless we keep winning.
Okay. Chargers and Patriots, maybe the best game of the weekend.
Aren't they gonna play Bailey Zappi?
They are. By the way, that reminds me, Big Mike dropped in here a key nugget for even when the Broncos play on Christmas Eve, that they could be starting Zappi possibly on Christmas Eve. I even heard a thing today that Mac Jones has been demoted so bad he's even on scout team today.
I mean, they're probably going to keep playing him because they're tanking. I'm kidding. As much as the Chargers will somehow find a way to probably lose this, I have to say that they're going to win.
Yeah, Chargers going to win this one fairly easily.
It definitely would be the most Charger thing to do, though, to lose the game. I say Chargers, though. And if there was ever a game that possibly could get Brandon Staley fired, it would be this game.
Oh, bro, he was fired like 4 weeks ago.
I'm just saying like immediate.
Just hasn't caught up to him yet.
I'm just saying like an immediate fire.
Oh, yeah.
Arizona Cardinals and the Pittsburgh Steelers. This one's sneaky. And the reason why I say it is because Kyler Murray is playing.
The Cardinals defense is real bad, though. I have to take Pittsburgh. I don't know how they keep winning, but they do. They shouldn't win this game, but they probably will. But Kyler Murray is legit.
Like he's back. Kyler Murray is back to what we thought, right? Like it was a weird game against the Rams, whatever, but like if they're going to have to be very convinced if they're going to move on from Kyler Murray next year. But Pittsburgh, they just find ways to win. Even if they only get like 12 yards of offense, they'll still find a way to win. So, yeah, Pittsburgh.
Colts Titans, AFC South matchup of the Colts and Titans. So no Jonathan Taylor, which could also have some significant.
But Zach Moss is still there,
which could have some significant playoff ramifications. But yes, Zach Moss is there, and he went wild on one of the games when Taylor was not there. I think he ran for like $150 or something. So
and multiple touchdowns. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking the Texans or not Texans, the Titans. Excuse me.
Wow. The Texans are so good they play twice.
The Titans. What day is Sunday going to be on?
For the Broncos game?
The 3rd of December, as in D. Henry. That's when he always comes to form.
If it's snowing in Vermont, then I'll take Tennessee.
The guy is like
every time it snows in Vermont, Derrick Henry goes off. Good.
He double dipped last week in touchdowns. It's going to be ugly. I think the Titans pull the upset at home here.
Is it even an upset? I mean,
it is. The
Indianapolis is favored by 1, so technically, yes.
I'm saying Colts.
The only reason that gives me pause: the Titans' run defense is normally lockdown. Zach Moss eviscerated them the last time he played them. I'm going to say the Colts.
The Detroit Lions and the New Orleans Saints, who are tied with the Atlanta Falcons for the division lead of the NFC. NFC, what is it? South. Like
I'm gonna say this is Detroit's get right game. Like as much as it sucks right before they play us, this is gonna be the Jared Goff. He's gonna come back, even though it's like not at home. It's Detroit.
Hell yeah! Stream the Lions defense too. So out is Michael Thomas. Potentially out is Olave. Potentially out is Rashid Shaheed. Carr has been banged up. Like they're going to have to dump it off to Kamara.
Alvin Kamara's going to get 15 passes if you have him in PPR.
15 targets probably for Kamara, and he'll probably catch 14 of them for like 68 yards, right? Like it's going to be one of those type of games, and it's going to be rough. The Lions are going to win that game pretty convincingly, even though it's on the road. I want to say it's a 5-point game. Detroit -4. Hammer Detroit. Like this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment uses only. But hammer Detroit -4.
Tommy drinking its water. Yeah, so I will. I've got Lions. Lions are going to win. Then we have a possible a toss-up between the Falcons and the New York Jets.
Mid-off, you mean?
Yeah, a mid-off. I think it's possible that the Falcons actually take this, and it's just because of the.
Bijan Robinson could string some games together here.
Yeah, obviously it is the Jets, and they do have a really tough defense, but I mean, I could see it. I mean, I could absolutely see it. So, but I'm going to go with my gut too, and I'm going to say Falcons. And even if it's on the road. The question is just, hopefully there's no significant injuries, since it's over at MetLife.
The only problem is like Desmond Mitter versus
He stole it. He stole it.
Tim Boyle. Oh my God. It's going to be so bad. It's going to be so bad. Can I pick neither?
Oh my gosh.
I don't even want to pick a team. I can't pick a team.
This is one of those scenarios that I'm like grateful for Red Zone.
Falcons, but
yeah, the Falcons. Like I would rather I know come like July, right, or whatever. I'd fiend for whatever football I can get my hands on. But I think I'd rather watch like a badminton tournament on the Ocho or something than watch this game. It's just going to be so freaking brutal.
I'd rather watch a professional pickleball tournament.
Yeah, played by actual pickles. It's just you sit there and you just watch the ball, like you watch it go nowhere. Like which is exactly how this game's going to be. The ball's going to go nowhere. It's going to be an ugly game, but the Falcons will find a way to win and stay in contention for their division at 6-6, which is nuts. So yeah.
I think I know where this is going. But Dolphins and Commanders, I think we would all be picking the Dolphins in that game. It's 9.5 for the Dolphins game.
Hey, Sam Howell's gonna throw for 450 yards
and still lose by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And now it's the next game where, Brandon, last time we were here, we had, friend of the show, Ben Cummins, on, and he said that around the point in time when they made the coaching change, or I should say the flipping of, play calling, I want to say it was to Thomas Brown, they got their win. And now we have another coaching change, one that, admit that we're wrong. I expected Frank Reich to actually do some things down there in Carolina. He seemed like he was building a staff down there in Carolina. That was not the case. They are 1-10 on the year. Carolina actually looks pathetic. And I am actually glad to say this, that not only did the Denver Broncos not trade anyone, they didn't trade their wide receivers to Carolina. But I will say this, do the Panthers, because of the recent firing of Frank Reich, get the W over the Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield-led, Trey Palmer-led Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Rashad White-led Buccaneers.
Wow.
No, they don't.
No?
The Bucs easily
easily
win that game.
By a lot.
Okay.
I don't think 5's enough. I think Tampa could win this by like 10, honestly.
Mike Evans is going to go off again.
I will eat my L already, but I'm going with the Panthers.
Good luck.
All right. And then we'll save the best game of the entire weekend for last. Cleveland Browns and the Los Angeles Rams. I'm going to go Rams.
I feel like this is the
and
comeback game.
Joe Flacco is probably starting, just FYI.
I know. I feel like he is. This is the comeback game for the defense, but of Cleveland. But I'm taking the Rams 100%. Joe Flacco can't win anything.
Go Rams. In this game, I think any of the wide receivers are viable. Kyron Williams obviously has a large workload there. So don't necessarily be scared if you've got fantasy players going against Cleveland. Don't bench your studs because of this game, because they're going to be in plus field position all game long. Rams.
And also sadly, in the next couple of games, I have Chiefs and Jaguars. And I say Jaguars just for the simple vein of
Bengals and Jaguars.
Bengals and Jaguars. So the Chiefs are playing the Packers, and obviously Bengals are the Jaguars. The reason why I'm not picking the Bengals is, you don't have Burrow, and even with it being Pittsburgh, Jake Browning, who it feels like he's been in the NFL now, like Chase Daniel, he's just not a good quarterback. He's just not a good quarterback, and it's at home, so I
think we can fairly confidently skip those games. Although Jordan Love is kind of good, but the Kansas City defense is ridiculous.
The Packers win.
Wow. I would be so happy.
The Packers win. Like, I may drive across the pond and make a bet on Green Bay money line. And since Kansas City is a 6-point favorite. So, yeah, the Chiefs.
That would be nuts. I would be
they're
so
exposed,
happy.
man. And the Packers, I think they're turning a corner here.
I
think, like, I know the running game's not
Bay.
super effective, and they're getting guys back and they're getting healthy, and like the Packers, that win that we had against the Packers earlier in the season
is looking good.
Is going to look incredible by the end of the year. Like, if Detroit slips up somehow, say Detroit loses to the Saints, it's like emergency alert, because the Packers will be back to 500, and like, who knows, right? So, the Packers, I don't sleep. I'm not just giving the Chiefs that win. I know they're 4-1 on the road. I think the Packers pull it out.
So
I'm
Matty,
going to pick the Chiefs,
packing it in.
But I wouldn't be surprised.
Matty is packing it in. Go Pack, go.
I don't think Mike agrees with you, Matty.
That's fine. Wouldn't be the first time somebody disagreed with me. Wouldn't be the first time I was wrong. So.
For real. Jordan Love is.
Are you
kind of figuring it out?
But are you going to go with? I
have to pick the Chiefs. I can't pick the Packers, but I will root for the Packers all day.
And
I am a cheesehead.
And Jaguars, you guys are going Jaguars.
Yeah,
I'm going Jaguars. Yeah.
All right, now the game of the week. And that would be the San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles, who, it's actually crazy, if I'm not mistaken, like if you look back at like the last few weeks, so the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks maybe rather, they will have played the Cowboys, the Bills, the Chiefs, and now the Eagles. Like literally maybe the best teams in all of football, and they've won every single one of those matchups. So if you want to make yourself relevant and win yourself a Super Bowl, those are the teams you will have to beat and possibly even play again in the Super Bowl. So, do they do it again? Is
what? This, I mean, I don't think you can call this a spicy take, but if Matty is going to pick Green Bay against Kansas City, and maybe I'm going in the exact direction that you guys are about to go, I think the Eagles lose this game.
Yeah. I feel like, and I'm not trying to say this from possibly a Broncos perspective with Houston, but like, it just feels like with the amount of games that you play, it does harden you as a football team for all these games that you're playing with tough competition. But at some point, it's got to catch up with you a little bit, right? And, and the 49ers being the second best team in the NFC, like this is a possible forecast of what we could see in the NFC Championship game. And and so like I don't think it's out of the question at all that we see the 49ers win. In fact, I think the 49ers do come out with it. But it is in Philly, right?
Yeah.
So it's a really tough place to play, but we know that Kyle Shanahan always, has them, competing.
Here's the thing: the Eagles' third down can't stop anyone on third down. Their third down defense is just not good. And I just looked up the injury report. Pretty much all of the normal weapons for the 49ers are healthy, and Trent Williams is playing, and I'm pretty sure every time he plays, they don't lose. I have to take the 49ers.
I mean, the 49ers are the favorite, believe that or not. I think they're favored by 3 in this game, which is a little weird seeing how it's in Philly. But I agree. Like, this is the type of game that Ayuk goes nuts. This is the type of game that if Byard's not on his game, Kittle can do some work. They brought him in to eliminate tight ends, and it worked last week. Like, Kincaid didn't do much, but everybody else did downfield. So,
yep.
And
if
McCaffrey's still going to get his own.
If Fletcher Cox is going to be out, which who knows, and Jordan Davis is
their defensive line is shattered now.
Or Christian McCaffrey's going to get his.
Well, they're one of the best teams still, like as a unit, schematically, one of the best teams in the NFL against the run. But the 49ers just give zero foxes, right? Like, they just are going to run the ball if they want to. And they're going to do it fairly efficiently. Like, McCaffrey's still going to get his, 18 plus carries in this game. He's knocking on 1,000 yards on the season rushing. He's got 11 touchdowns. I think if you have an anytime McCaffrey touchdown, this isn't a bad week to put it in either. Like, don't be afraid of the Eagles. I think he could get there I don't think he gets there on the ground. I do think he gets there through the air. But it's a really tough matchup this week for the Eagles. Now, if the Eagles were healthy, I think it could be a different story. But the X factor is the coaching and the schematics of what that Shanahan offense is and the layers in which the 49ers stress the defense.
Yeah.
The secondary in the Eagles has guys that can make plays. But, man, if they don't get home to the quarterback, they are vulnerable. And guys like Debo and Ayuk can catch and run and put them in hell, and I think they will, because they're going to be so focused on stopping McCaffrey. And it's good because of all the injuries and what they have to do schematically. Like, this is a Brock Purdy, double stack Brock Purdy if you can, if you want to get away from Washington and Miami in daily. Because this is going to be the 49ers are going to put up some fireworks on the road here.
Well, if the Eagles are one of the best teams at stopping the run, it doesn't matter because the 49ers are the best team at running the ball.
Well, and the other layers to this, you touched on Brock Purdy. This is a revenge game. This is a revenge game for Purdy. He was injured in the playoff game. This is the Eagles were the game, if I'm not mistaken, where we thought he was going to end up with, in air quotes, the Tommy John surgery, right? This is a revenge game for him. And so I would imagine too, like you are really going to really see, you really are going to see, I think, Brock Purdy really have a great game here. And also too, Purdy deserves a lot of credit for the quarterback that he is. I know that people say that, you could plug any quarterback in the Shanahan system and it's accurate, but Brock Purdy, and Matty knows this watching some time with Big 12, but like Purdy was a really darn good quarterback for like a couple of years, the first couple of years with Iowa State under Matt Campbell, like a really good quarterback. And he feels like a carbon copy quarterback, what you would want in Kyle Shanahan's system, just a quarterback, kind of like what you truly see with Tua Tagovailoa with Mike McDaniel, in what you're seeing with Miami. Like to use the pun, a true quarterback in the sense of the word, where he's a point guard of exactly the players that he has on his team, getting the ball truly to the best players on the football field, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk. I mean, he makes really good decisions, and when you actually need him to make the best play, he makes the best play. So he is a really good fit with Shanahan's offense. So I'm curious to see what that game will be like. Slightly surprised it's not a primetime game, is it? I don't think it is, or is it? It's not.
Nope.
Surprised it's not a primetime game.
No, that's kind of weird.
Yeah. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we want to wish you guys a good rest of the night. Thank you guys so much for hopping on with us. Did go a little bit long, but there was so much to talk about when the Broncos win 5 straight. And we're going streaking one more time again. There's a lot to, unpack certainly in a show, like a truffle shuffle, a Matty belly rub, NFL picks, talking about the playoff chances, Pro Bowl chances and players that possibly make a Pro Bowl. It was a fun show tonight, and we want to say thank you once again to every single person that is a part of this show, people who commented, from Michael to Ty. Thanks for chopping it up with us here late. Josh. Ray was in here a little bit earlier. Everybody that chimed in, we are so grateful for you guys, and of course, you guys being a part of the Manely Broncos podcast, because you guys also, you guys may not know this, but you guys are a part of the Manely Broncos podcast as much as we are in helping this podcast grow. So thank you guys so much for hopping on with us. It truly was a great show. Go Broncos, and hopefully they can beat the Texans.
Broncos country. Let's truffle shuffle.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down.